recap for Wednesday, September 4th, 2024, I'm Daniel Montoya Jr. for General Effect Media. The Tuesday after Labor Day is the closest thing that DCI has to professional sports free agency. When it comes to baseball, basketball, football, maybe even hockey, there is a day when teams can officially re-sign or sign free agents, unrestricted free agents, extend contracts, etc. At least that's my understanding of how free agency works. And thanks to the Boston Crusaders, and to a lesser extent the Cadets and Carolina Crown, the Tuesday after Labor Day is the day that drum corps can officially announce new hires. Now, from the end of the season at finals up until now, staff members, design team members, people not officially affiliated with the drum corps can make announcements on their own. You may or may not have seen people thanking certain organizations for their time, or in other situations, speaking out a little bit how surprised they were at some changes being made. So if you've been following drum corps Twitter, drum corps social media, then you have seen certain people that have announced they're already leaving, or you've kind of heard through the rumor mill teams and people that aren't coming back to their respective organizations. And while we aren't going to focus on people leaving, we are going to mention it just a little bit in terms of how the newer teams or newer people relate to what maybe took place in previous years. So yesterday being the first day that drum corps can officially announce their changes, 3 different drum corps announced additions, changes to their design teams, and today we're going to break it down a little bit. First up, we have the Blue Stars Drum and Bugle Corps out of La Crosse, Wisconsin. Now, Andrew Markworth was named the new percussion arranger. Previously, he was a consultant and ensemble specialist. Now he's writing the percussion book to go along with Jim Wunderlich, who has been writing the brass book for some time now. Now, if you are familiar with WGI or marching band, or yes, drum corps, then the Markworth name will sound very familiar to you. Andrew Markworth is currently a heavy hitter, a big name when it comes to WGI, specifically with Rhythm X, and in marching band, he writes full books for such groups as Vandergrift and Centerville High School. But of course, if you're a drum corps fan, you're wondering, well, that's fine and dandy, but what does that mean for drum corps? Well, Andrew Markworth has a long, extensive design history with DCI. Yes, he marched drum corps and all that, but you're concerned about the writing, right? So from 2007 to 2014, he was the front ensemble arranger for the Carolina Crown Drum and Bugle Corps out of Fort Mill, South Carolina. While he was there, the corps placed 6th place, 4th place, 2nd place, 4th place, 4th place, 2nd place, 1st place, and then 5th place. So he was doing that. I think there was a little bit of teaching going on, but then after Carolina Crown, he made his way over to Crossman, where he was the brass arranger as well as the full-time percussion arranger. I think he started off as brass first and then eventually took over everything, but for a while he was the full-time music arranger, percussion and brass rather, for the Crossman out of San Antonio, Texas. While he was there, they were 12th place, 10th place, 11th place, 12th place, and 11th place. That was from 2015 to 2019 more specifically. But in those 2 stints with those 2 drum corps, he has not missed finals. Not that the Blue Stars have missed finals or have that been that close to missing finals, but if you're looking for someone with a nice pedigree of experience as a teacher, as a designer, as a performer in DCI, well, Andrew Markworth is arguably one of the bigger names in percussion free agency out there. After leaving Crossman in 2020, you kind of wondered, would Markworth come back and get into the game? If so, was it going to be brass? Was it going to be percussion? Was it going to be brass and percussion? As it turns out, Blue Stars team him up with Jim Wunderlich for percussion only. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see the beats. I am a big fan of the percussion books that Andrew Markworth writes for BOA bands, for WGI, and for drum corps, obviously. So this is going to be fun to see how his creativity at percussion and sound design matches with the creativity of Jim Wunderlich, who also writes percussion and sound design too. You've got 2 powerhouse percussionists writing books for the Blue Stars. It's going to be fun. So if you are a fan of the Blue Stars Drum and Bugle Corps out of La Crosse, Wisconsin, you should be very excited about this addition to the music design team. Speaking of Carolina Crown, the Corps from Fort Mill, South Carolina, announced a new addition to their music team with Joe Hobbs and Cliff Walker taking over design and writing responsibilities. Now, Cliff Walker is most recently affiliated with the Cavaliers Drum and Bugle Corps out of Rosemont, Illinois. He was there from 2018 to 2024, where they placed 6th, 5th, 9th, 8th, and most recently, 11th place. In 2023, they won the Fred Sanford Award for Best Percussion. So this is going to be a lot of fun. Cliff Walker, primarily responsible for the front ensemble book, more than likely the sound design and all of that, paired with Joe Hobbs, who most recently wrote for the Music City Drum and Bugle Corps in 23 and 24. But that's not it. He was on staff for the Music City Mystique in 2009 to 2011, spent some time with the Phantom Regiment and Spirit of Atlanta before going to the Cavaliers from 2015 to 2018. Most recently, he was on staff with the Blue Coats Drum and Bugle Corps from 2019 to 2024. Yes, they won this summer, but they also won the Fred Sanford for Best Percussion in 2022. So you have staff members and designers from 2 of the last 3 Fred Sanford Best Percussion winning people moving to Carolina Crown. The only way it would be better is if you had someone from Santa Clara this summer joining up, and then you have the last 3 years. But from an instructional point of view, this is going to be a very good hire. Now, the last team was very good. Awesome. I liked what they wrote. I liked what they contributed to the Carolina Crown. This is going to be an interesting dynamic because we're going to see a very Midwestern pedigree from the Cavaliers because Joe Hobbs did march the Cavaliers. He has taught at Phantom Regiment, taught at Cavaliers, taught at Blue Coats, Cliff again with the Cavaliers. So we're going to see this Midwestern style now mix with the East Coast style of the Carolina Crown. Now, as you look back, Carolina Crown Percussion has been on a roller coaster, and I think they've gotten a bad rap as of late. I think the last 2 years they've been really good, and they've been on the come up. And then earlier when we were talking about Andrew Markworth being affiliated with the Carolina Crown, the Crown was doing fairly well. Now, there were some years where maybe the Carolina Crown Percussion section was the weakest part of the drum corps, and you can go back and look at the years and look at the scores and look at the rankings, and you can make that judgment call for yourself. But it's not unfair to say that you have the Carolina Crown Brass and then percussion's not quite meeting that same level. So this is going to be a really good hire for the Carolina Crown because you have some really stout educators and designers coming into that organization that I think are really going to work well together with Michael Klesch and Matt Harloff and some other designers that we are not able to announce publicly. We are going to wait until they are announced publicly by the organizations, but we all know there are going to be more announcements made from certain drum corps in the top 6, and there are going to be some wild announcements yet to come. Some with Carolina Crown, not sure, but maybe. But we're not prepared to say that. And if it doesn't happen, we'll always just plead that we never said such a thing. So stay tuned for more announcements, probably coming from the East Coast of Drum Corps. But we're not done because the Troopers had a double header of announcements yesterday. Now, we're not going to focus on the sound design team because we're really more focusing on design. We're focusing on that, and they didn't change anything on the audio design team. They're keeping Justin Shelton from last year, who was a new hire last year, but they did announce a new drill writer, a new aesthetics designer, and a new visual caption head. Now, I know I just said we weren't going to focus on teaching, but I think all 3 of these go hand in hand, which is why that announcement was made. If we start with aesthetics, that was Molly Favret-Edrington, and she is going to be responsible for designs of branding and flags and costuming and visuals and all that kind of stuff, which is oh so very important to marching bands, drum corps, and WGI. Some of the groups she's worked with have been Tarpon Springs, Paramount, Crossman, and Carolina Crown. And what I'd like to say about aesthetics is this: when they're good, the show just looks good and you don't even notice. Like, that's how good it needs to be. It's just like, yep, everything makes sense. When they're bad, you really notice it. You're like, I didn't like that. Like, so when you do your job, you don't notice it. It works perfectly. And when you don't do your job, you start to notice how bad it is. And definitely the organization she's been affiliated with over the years, you don't notice it because it's so good. It fits, it coincides. This is going to be great for them. Now, when it comes to drill, they have hired Andy Ebert. Now, Andy Ebert got his start in drum corps drill with the Troopers Bugle Corps. He started writing for the Scouts as an associate or assistant drill writer in 2012, but the Troopers in 2013 and 2014 were his first full-time, full design I'm writing the drill gig. So he wrote for 2 years for the Troopers in 2013 and 2014. But also in 2014, he took over drill writing responsibilities for the Madison Scouts, which he wrote for 14, 15, and 16. So there was that year when he was writing for the Troopers in 14 and the Scouts in 14, but then left the Troopers and focused on Scouts for the next 2 years. After that, he moved on to the Crossman Drum and Bugle Corps in San Antonio, Texas from 2017 to 2020. So you can see that he too has a very nice drum corps pedigree of writing drill. He's also a very established marching band and WGI visual designer for some of the best bands in Texas, winning state championships, placing in Grand National Finals, WGI Finals, Open Class, A Class. I'm assuming A Class, but definitely World and Open Class. So you're bringing someone into the organization who has a long list of experience in placing world-class drum corps into finals, and not just into finals, but scoring high. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section, but I believe he was part of the Madison Scouts who had not scored that high in the longest time. So he was a part of that design team. He brings a lot of experience, a lot of pedigree, and more importantly to all the Troopers fans out there, a lot of success in world-class drum corps. Now, visually, they have a new visual caption head, Joshua Brennis. Is it Brennis or Brennis? Forgive me if I mispronounced it. Who was most recently with the Cadets. Now, he was there from 2020 to 2023. So basically 21, 22, and 23. And if we look back at how visual analysis and visual performance was in the caption rankings for the Troopers over the last 3 years, you can see why a change was probably necessary. In 2023, in prelims, they were 10th. And then if you go to semis, they were 14th and 12th. And then they fixed it and got 11th and 11th in finals in VA and VP. This past summer in 2024, they averaged 11th in prelims. They were 11th and 12th in semis, and then in finals, 10th and 10th. So if you go back to the 3 competitive years post-COVID, 22, 23, 24, you can see that visually they're placing in that 10, 11, 12 pretty consistently, though in semis, you can see that they were 14th in 2023. So definitely a weakness that they keyed in on. They realized the change needed to be made. They made the change. So if you're a Troopers fan or Troopers stan, you're thinking about going there, you're thinking about staying, you're thinking about leaving, this is going to be a really great hire for design as well as for teaching. All 3 of these organizations are making great improvements and adjustments and hires for their corps. I wouldn't sit here and lie to you and say like, oh yeah, this is great. I just wouldn't say anything at all. Because if you can't say something nice on YouTube, on social media, for everyone to record and watch, don't say anything nice at all. But these are all going to be great hires. And again, as I mentioned, this isn't a knock on the people that they're replacing or the people that aren't coming back or whatever, whether they didn't come back on their own or they were not asked back. That's not the point of this. The point is, I think these 3 organizations looked at their drum corps and said, what are some of the weaknesses? How can we fix that? How can we make it better? And I think with the addition of Andrew Mark with the Blue Stars, I think with Joe Hobbs and Cliff Walker at Carolina Crown, and then Andy and Molly and Josh over at Troopers, you can definitely say that these 3 drum corps took a look at their organization and said, let's improve. And if you're a percussionist or a person who marches or a person who marches drill or any of that kind of stuff, I think all 3 organizations made some really nice hires. They should be excited. Fans of the organizations, fans of drum corps in general should be excited because it's always good when all the drum corps are firing on all cylinders, because as we saw from this summer with the fight for 12th place or the fight for 7, 8, 9, it's always fun when we can see a bunch of corps like really going at it, and then you kind of don't know until you get to finals week. Once we got to finals week, we knew it was pretty much decided the top 12, just a matter of where those top 12 were going to happen. But if you can get a top 15, top 16, whatever, fighting and battling it out to the end, that's always going to be a lot of fun. So we're obviously not done with announcements. Just because it is Wednesday and there's no announcements yet doesn't mean that drum corps aren't waiting to make more announcements. Some are just waiting to, wait for others to get their announcement out of the way. I can tell you from experience, some drum corps are actually waiting on contracts to be signed, because when one domino falls, other people adjust, right? If there's a hole here, someone goes here, someone goes there, someone goes there. If somebody was let go from a finalist corps, they may be landing somewhere else in another drum corps that may want that person, or vice versa, or we're improving. People have to put their teams together. And that's another aspect of this. New visual caption at Troopers, new percussion team at Crown. Those people are going to want to hire their team members to come in and teach their writing, their drill, their music, whatever. So dominoes are going to fall like crazy over the next few weeks. People are going to be changing allegiances, Facebook profiles and cover photos will be changing on the daily, no doubt. So as soon as drum corps announce new additions or changes of worth, and I don't mean of worth, that's an awful way to put it. Like, I'm not going to devote a recap video to the new cook. I mean, if they got like Gordon Ramsay, that's worthy of a video. But, design team members, caption head, drum corps directors, executive directors, that kind of news. We'll be back to break it down, to give you our opinions on that, give you a little context. So be sure to stick around to the recap in General Effect Media for all of the latest news and happenings in not only drum corps, but marching band, because we're about to hit marching band season. We're 2 weeks away. And then WGI stuff, I'm sure they're already practicing and designing for all that stuff. So be sure to stick around, give us a like, give us a subscribe, give us a thumbs up. Definitely helps us with the algorithm, especially if you give us a comment and let us know what you think about this video or any of the videos. Give us a comment, share it, that would be great. As you can see, I'm wearing a very nice, smart black and white General Effect Media shirt. If this interests you or other colorways, we have a store. Check it out down below where you can support the brand. All profits minus administrative fees and whatever are split amongst our content creators, so that goes a long way. If you don't want to buy something but you'd rather give us money, right here, coffee, Ko-Fi, it's also going to be right here. You can donate and that goes straight to the content creators as well, minus all administrative fees. And of course, General Effect Media did start as a written online magazine. Please subscribe to our Substack, generaleffect.media, where you can read a lot of really nerdy stuff, a little bit more in-depth. Not everyone wants to be on camera. Not everyone wants to talk to a screen. Not everyone wants to hear their own voice. So we have some really cool stuff. We've done a lot of great stuff for marching band and drum corps, and we're gonna kick it into gear for WGI. I promise you, we're gonna do it. So be sure to subscribe to all of those things and let everyone know what you think about it. Subscribe, give us a thumbs up, all those great things. So thanks a lot. We'll be back when there's more news for drum corps, marching band, and WGI. Till then, please keep watching and keep listening. We love it. It's silly season. Lots of fun. It's not going to stop.